Abundant Life. It's OG. Welcome to Only Game for this My Take Monday. Those of y'all that have been around for a long time, you know what My Take Monday is all about. My take on this, that, and the third, and the fourth and fifth sometimes. Those of you that haven't, first things first, click the like, subscribe, and the share, and that bing, so that way you know whenever something's popping over on this side of the world.
Amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It is. I can teach you how to stack a honey early in the morning. Them niggas talking shit ain't got nothing.
I wanted to get into a little bit of a discussion about why we don't invest. When I say we, I mean my people. Blacks, African Americans, Africans, people with melanin pigmentation. So we all know about investing. Some of us are doing it. Some of us are scared to do it. Some people will never do it because they are afraid of the unknown. Today I want to talk about my people specifically. Why are we afraid to invest? I personally, I'll speak from my experience first. I was always a little bit interested in investing, right? But the idea of taking some money that I felt like I needed today, or I could possibly need today, and giving it to some people so that way they can take it and invest it or do whatever it is that they do with it. I just never was really comfortable with that idea. One of the few things we're taught in school, about financial literacy is, get you a bank account and save some money. That's like not really one of the main things you want to do, at least not with the bulk of your money, because then it's just kind of sitting there and getting 0.0001% interest, which is basically nothing. So I was afraid. I was afraid of the idea of letting someone else be in any kind of control of my finances. I know that's one of the things that hinder a lot of people in our community, the Black and brown community. Please feel free to, in the comments, leave why you're either afraid of investing, what it is about investment or investing that has you apprehensive. Are you apprehensive? Are you investing? Do you have any tips for some people that might be apprehensive? We'll tackle some things as we go along that we can touch on. And again, from my experiences. But please, feel free to leave your experiences or comments below. So what's up, my people? Let's talk about it. Investing, specifically in the stock market, cryptocurrency, those type of investments, things that you have to put your money in, and in a lot of cases is more of a long-term play. So your money will be tied up. You know how in movies people say, oh, I got my money tied up in investments, so I can't access it. Why don't we invest? Why are we willing to miss out on all the benefits that we can receive from investing? And in my opinion, I think one of the main reasons is fear. Just being afraid. My fears in the beginning, before ever getting into investing deeply into the stock market, were without my cash. You work hard, you get your money, you have your money, you put it in the bank, you were taught to put it in your bank, it's gonna get interest, blah, blah, blah. As I started educating myself, I realized that was really not the proper tutelage, if you want to say that. That wasn't the proper thing, in my opinion, that we should be getting told when we're younger. There's the other demographic gets taught something totally different. Kids are investing into the stock market at way earlier ages. I think with my people, our fears come from a plethora of things. One being lack of knowledge, not having enough knowledge about the stock market in order to invest in the stock market or be willing to take that risk. Being afraid of the risks. I think some of us, even the idea of watching your money go up and down like that, you hear people doing crazy things because they lost a bunch of money. And I want to really get into that a little bit. Like, why are we afraid of that? Is it the lack of knowledge? Is it the fact of we have a mentality as a people, we have the mentality of instant gratification? I hear people all the time that talk about why they don't invest. It's like, oh, I don't do it because I need my cash on hand. I don't really have it. I'm living check to check. All these different things and all these different reasons that I've heard from people, even after I first started getting into getting past my fears of the stock market and trying to introduce other people to it. Those were a lot of the reasons that I heard. But those same people that had those reasons would go out and spend some money instantly that they know they're definitely not going to get back on some shoes, on a haircut, on a girl or a guy, on some fun. And it's like you are willing to sacrifice what you're making and working hard for those type of things, but not sacrifice for your future. That fear is something that I hope this episode helps us get around. You know what I mean? Because I think that we're doing ourselves a grave injustice by not learning about investing first, right? You don't want to just jump into something without knowing about it. So I think that's one thing that'll help us get past that fear, is learning about investing first and foremost, and then learning how to budget so we can allocate a certain or a specific amount that we invest on a monthly, weekly, semi-annually or annually basis. I think that, like in most things in the world, fear is the enemy. Being afraid, I've said this in a couple episodes, right? Everything you want is on the other side of fear. Stop making excuses for not doing some of these things that the others are doing that's helping them stay ahead of the game in regards to our evolution as a race, as a people, as a group of individuals, as human beings. I hope again that this episode really helps with that, because my concern is that we allow our fears to keep us in the same rat race, to keep us in the same hamster wheel, and we're never able to jump out, because at some point, the more of us gets on that wheel and we're running all in the same direction, the faster that wheel goes, and that's what I'm afraid of more so than being out of a little bit of cash. I'm more so afraid of being stuck in the same cycle and having my children stuck in the same cycle that I've complained about for my life. So let's move past the fear. Let's get away from thoughts of not having our money. Let's get into the mind state of the same way we would go spend $200 on some Jordans and forget about it, and them Jordans aren't going to last you forever. Let's get in the mind state of saying, hey, I got $200 that I would have bought some Jordans with, but I'm going to put it in this stock market, in this stock that I've studied and I know and I believe and I'm confident in what this stock might do. And that every play doesn't have to be a long-term play. So fear, one of the things that I've noticed that I hope this episode, I pray this episode helps us all get past. So why aren't we taught that in schools? I think the rich want to stay rich. And if your family doesn't know it, your people that are raising you before you start school aren't financially literate. I think that that's a big reason that we're not taught that, or that we don't learn that, because it's true that in schools, I feel like in schools, they should teach financial literacy a little deeper, because yes, most of us in classrooms receive whatever education that is there for all of us, regardless to our race, our culture, our creed, our belief systems, right? We all get taught the same things. Where the difference comes in at, and first, before I even get on the difference, I think that our curriculum should be adjusted, because a lot of the things that we're learning in schools aren't things in a lot of cases that we're gonna really need in order to prosper in life, right? They teach you the basics, your ABCs, your 1, 2, 3s, add, and they teach you how to stay a part of the system. To me, the educational system is about being a part of the system. And I think that that's one of the first things that have to change, is we have to start teaching these kids, our kids, how to really make money out here. How do we become better than just and again, not to say better like to shit on anybody, but how do we become better or have higher aspirations than just to work? Everybody's not gonna be an entrepreneur. You know what I'm saying? But everybody doesn't have to be an entrepreneur in order to live a great life and provide a great life for their family. Investing is just one of those ways that we can acquire some of the things that we want in life. I think it's very important that schools start integrating, or schools start really taking the time out to give us an education on, as opposed to XYZBCG equals QZL, which is 1 trillion, as opposed to that, some of these equations and calculuses and all these things that we might never put to use if we're not in a specific vocation or we're not in a specific field, let's teach that banks aren't really benefiting you when you're keeping your money in there. They're benefiting from your money. Let's teach the banking system a little bit more, right? So this isn't to just tear schools down. This is more to say that as far as with the education about financially or financial literacy, I think that should definitely be something that is incorporated into our school systems. Now, the break, right? The break comes to me is because we have this group of kids, right? This group of people that are very well educated on investing and all these things, right? It's not because they're learning it in school, but it's because when they go home or before they even hit school, their parents are doing it. And their parents are teaching them about it, and they're opening up kiddie accounts in order to invest, and they're taking their allowance money and they're investing into these companies. And by the time that they're old enough to be in high school with your child, they know all these things and are so confident in their future and what they're preparing themselves for, that they start talking crazy to your children, which is our children, right? Or they start moving differently. And some of them might not turn out to be bad individuals or bad people, but I think knowing that you're investing, being aware of investing and starting to make money from that and growing from that, I think that adds to confidence. I think that gives a child a whole nother level of belief in self. You know what I mean? And I think that that's something very important. So if we're not receiving this education at home, or excuse me, if we're not receiving this education at schools, then the only other place that we really could get it, if we're not diving out here on our own and looking for it based off of our own curiosities, would be from the people that love us, the people that are raising us. So with that being said, home is the most important place, especially if your schools aren't teaching it to you. The only other place you can get it, if you're not just willing to jump out there, if you don't let these thoughts that you have or these curiosities about how can I be rich, if those thoughts are constantly pounding in your brain, and in a lot of cases you'll get out there and start looking for ways, things you can do. Start a lemonade stand or whatever it is your hustle is. Get on a paper route. Like those type of things we learn at home, that we can do those type of things. But no one's telling us what to do with the money after we start a lemonade stand, after we get a paper route, and that's because our parents or the people who are ahead of us that are raising us, again, are not, they've either been so afraid that they've stayed away from that side of the world, that they don't tell you about it, or maybe they have their own views on it, again, based off of their fears, that they don't tell you about it, or they tell you about it, but they say it in a way that's like, don't be giving them people your money. I wouldn't do that. You know what I'm saying? I'll keep my money right here in the bank. At least I know where it's at and what's going on with it, which is really not the truth, because we know from studying that banks really don't teach you, don't take your money and just add a bunch of money into it on there unless you have a CD or a specific type of accounts that you've opened up, you know what I mean? And then you can borrow against the money and things like that, which is another episode. But we know that putting your money in the bank is not going to make you rich at all. It's just going to give you a place to store your money. You can do that at home in the safe with the money that you're going to make off of keeping it in the bank. But what the banks are doing with your money is what we should be doing instead. You put your $100 in the bank takes your $100, borrows it to someone else that needs $100. They charge them 21.6% interest on that money, and then that person is in debt off of the money that they've used. Why do you think when you go to the bank and you want large sums of money, they'll tell you they don't have it or they need time to get it? Because your money isn't there when you put it there. It's not like you put it in the bank and they just keep it there. They spread it across a plethora of industries. So they'll take your $100 and put 25 into dry shipping goods, and take this and put it into tech, and take this and put it into that. And they're making hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars off of your $100, or thousands of dollars off of your $100, of all these people's $100. And they're not telling you anything about it. We have to break that. We have to get in the habit of actually, if we say we want these things, we have to get in the habit of actually getting out here, doing the homework, because doing the homework and doing the research, you know what I mean, is what's so important. Because once you know something and you're not having to think about it while you're doing it and you're muddling through it because you're too busy in your head on if am I doing this right, or you're letting the fear get over you because your portfolio or whatever dropped 1 cent and you had 1,000 shares and it just went down $100 and now I want to sell everything. Or your circumstances or your situations have you feeling like, fuck that money that I put in the bank, that I put into the stock market. I need to go get that shit because damn it, I need some bread right now. We have to start training and conditioning ourselves to understand that just as we would spend that money on some shoes and forget about it, this money, when we invest it, it no longer exists. Now, you can have multiple ways to invest. You can be a short-term investor in the stock market. You can do a lot of long-term plays. You can do options. You can do so many different things with investing. So we have to learn it so we understand that just because we have our money in the stock market doesn't mean that we can never get it again or we have to go through so much to get it. But we also want to know that when we put it in there, we put it in there for a reason. And that reason, hopefully, was to gain a lot more equity. And of course, everyone's allowed to have a ceiling to say, hey, this is where I want to stop at. If I make X amount of dollars, I'm selling this shit. I don't give a damn what's going to happen with it after that. And that's just fine as well. But let's get into the game to be able to do that, right? Let's get in there and get educated enough that we can make sound decisions on companies that we want to invest in. And then let's be willing to ride it out and have the gall and the fortitude to go through times like this when the market is super red, and everything's bleeding everywhere. Let's make sure that we're not only instilling that in our children, but we're instilling that in ourselves. And we're working harder to study before we're just jumping out here and putting our money into anything. Because blind, ignorant investing, that's some shit that I would stay away from. Because that's how you lose your money. When you go in there educated though, and you know what you're looking for, and you have your criteria that these companies have to be doing this in order for me to invest in them, and then you got to be steadfast on sticking with them through the down times. Everything is always not a peak. We know that. Everything is always not up here. That's why peaks are a point and valleys are flat. So, yeah, let's work on that. So is there an answer to why we aren't investing or why we're not taught to invest? Probably not just one. A lot of the things that I said are reasons that we should invest. Those are things that we can pick up on and say, yo, hopefully there are things that you can pick up on and be like, yo, he's right. Maybe we should get out here and give it a go and give it a try. Because they're not going to teach us that stuff. We have to be willing to get out here and learn on our own. So let's get out here and do that. Fuck why they're not. And let's just teach ourselves. All the information is out here. We got cell phones and everything else. So we can get out here and just ask your phone and you can get on the path to learning about financial literacy or learning about investing in general, and that will take you down a wormhole of financial literacy. So, well, now that we've discussed a few things about investing, I wanted to, because I don't want to make it seem like our people just never invest or we at all, because that's definitely not the case. So I'm not going to sit here and act like we never invest and we're all ignorant and none of us know anything about it, meaning us, the black people, the people that I'm here and I care about the most. Sue me. Because that's not the case. We've actually been involved in the stock market since 1949. So even after all the things that we went through early on in our existence in America, once the doors were opened up, in order to invest, we started investing. Think about places like Tulsa, where we have Black Wall Street. So we've always been the type of people that when we get a hold of something or get into something, that we will be the best at. Those of us that aren't educated on investing and things like that, I just want to take some of the time that I have in order to help spread some of that information to you guys in hopes that it opens up a new world for you and you can take advantage and then, increase your life abundantly, because it will. I believe that. I'm not a financial advisor by any means, so I'm not sitting here telling you buy this, and buy that. I'm just giving you my life experiences and in hopes that it helps you on your journey with investing. We even have a black owned exchange. You know how we got the NASDAQ and everything else? We have an actual black owned exchange, and it's called the Dream Exchange. So as far as the first two African Americans that were ever recorded as far to sell stocks or invest in stocks, one of his name was Lawrence Lewis. Thorvald McGregor were the first two African Americans recorded that actually were into sales and purchases of stocks in the stock market. So there you have it. We have black people that have been investing since 1949. We have black-owned exchanges. We have young African Americans that are opening businesses and investing in businesses at younger ages right now, and they're profiting and prospering. So it's not that we're completely out of the mix or out of the picture. I just think and feel that we can be doing even better. You know, why not strive for the best? Right now, statistics say 39% of African American families are actually investing into the stock market, where our counterparts on the other side are investing at a 61% rate. We got to fix that. You know, we talk about equality and we talk about all these things. We need to hop into these fields that can help catapult us forward, as opposed to sitting back and shunning it. You know, well, we're not going to do that. Forget that. That's their game. That's their game. That's the game. And we need to play. We need to get out here and play. Let's not always use the same excuses. Let's get out of the habit of that, you know, blaming this race or this culture, because that's not what this video was about either, to blame anyone. This video was just to show some of the disparities in the world or within our own culture, and hopefully dispel some of these beliefs or these things that we stand on, these principles that we stand on, that really leave us with nothing to stand on. You know, let's not do this to compete per se, but let's do this so that we can elevate ourselves. You know, I've never really been a proponent of the whole, these people have to accept us. I've never been on that boat. I don't care about anyone accepting me, or, you know what I mean, accepting us as a group of people. I don't. I think we have to accept ourselves. I think we have to work better and harder for ourselves and our children. I think we have to stop making excuses about why we can't or haven't and won't. I think we have to look within us and fix us. I think we have to be dependent on we. I think we need to pull each other up. I think we need to compete with each other in a good way, though. Not in a hater way, not in a, I gotta be better than this nigga because fuck that. Nah, in a good way. Let's all elevate ourselves. Let's all elevate our consciousness. Let's all work harder to help each other be better. In the process of that, we'll understand the value within ourselves. Even though a lot of things have been hidden from us, we will understand the value within ourselves even more, the more we build each other up, the more we understand ourselves as individuals. Let's stop the excuses. It's only game. I'm OG Grip. It's been a pleasure, man. I love y'all. Let's really hold our heads up, get in these books, in these phones, and let's really study, and let's elevate ourselves, right? Each one teach one. Abundant life. And before you get out of here, click the like, the subscribe, and that bing. Make sure you share it too. Click that bing so that way you know what we're doing, when we're doing it, and you can stay in tune with us. If you got any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. Also, follow me on all social media platforms, The Real OG Grip, like it sounds, The Real OG Grip. And leave me some questions on there. Comments, whatever. Hate. We all deserve some haters. Do whatever it is you want to do, man. It's been a pleasure. Don't leave without clicking those buttons. All right? One love.
Amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It is. I can teach you how to stack a honey early in the morning. Money. Niggas talking shit ain't got